Hey everybody, Crystal Gamer here, and welcome to my channel where I do all things Sims, and where today we're actually doing something a little different. It's the video I promised you last week on how I, as a photographer, edit my Sims photos. And this is the first video of this type that I'm doing, so it's kind of a trial run to see if you guys like this type of content. If it's something that you like and you want more of it, do let me know down in the comments and by hitting the like button and all that good stuff. Now, before we get into it, let me first say that this is not meant to be a technical tutorial. I'm not going to teach you how to use a software application. Rather, it's meant more to give you ideas on what you might want to do with images stylistically in whatever program you choose to use. Now, I am going to be using Photoshop today, but there are several free, very powerful editing programs out there. I've listed them here. To my knowledge, all of these allow you to use layers and masking, which are two major things that I use in all of my editing. So, all right, so we're going to have some fun today. Now, before we get into editing the photo of this woman, which is what we're going to be focusing on, let's be clear that photography is art, and art is always subjective. What one person likes, another may hate. Everyone is going to have their own taste and style. So I'm going to show you my style and things that I like to do, and maybe you like it. And if you do, you can try to emulate that as the starting point, but it's always good to develop your own specific style over time. So we have this image of this woman here, which is fairly flat. Even the best of Sims photography does not really do a great job at giving us a lot of dynamic lights and shadows and things like that. So we are going to try to make this image a little bit more dynamic. We're going to try and make her pop a little bit more, and we're going to try and make her kind of look a little bit like this here. So hopefully you guys think that this is an improvement, because this is kind of what we're going for our end point. And to me, this makes her pop a lot more, and it just makes the image a lot more striking. It makes her a lot more striking. So that's what we're going to try and get to. And how we're going to do that is we are going to use adjustment layers pretty much exclusively. I work with adjustment layers like mad, even in my real photography that's, not Sims stuff. And part of that is because they're non-destructive. So they are truly excellent to work with if you are a Photoshop user. If you're using another program, you should have any of the ones that I listed have layers and masking. I don't know if they do adjustment layers in the same way, but you should be able to find all of the features that I'm going to use somewhere within the programs that you play with. So, all right. So we're going to start out with a curves adjustment layer. And curves is used oftentimes to get white balance, which is what I'm going to try and do, because this image has a very strong yellow cast over it. And I do that kind of on purpose when I take the images in The Sims, because I would rather have too much color and pull back on it than not have enough. So I'll add extra color so that I have the warmth there and I have it there to play with. But in this case, I'm choosing my white here, and now I'm going to go to the black and select that. And this, if you've ever worked with curves, this is pretty much how it works. You select a white, a black, and then a midtone. I don't have much for midtones here. I'm going to use her earring is the closest to a middle gray that I think I have. Let's see what that's doing to the image. That looks pretty good. So she looks a lot more, just with this, if I take off the visual here, just take a look at the difference there. It's already a massive, massive difference. So she looks a lot brighter. We can see a lot more shadows, colors, things going on around there. Now I'm going to take a quick look at levels, at my color levels. And they're almost even throughout. The darks are a little bit light. I'm going to tone down the darks a little bit. So that's given us a darker column here, a little bit darker around her eyes, and darker hair a little bit. If you look at, I don't know if you could see the difference over the video, but those few elements got a little bit darker with that change. Not very dark, not hugely so, but just a little bit. Tiny change. All right, now I'm going to add in a gradient, aka a vignette. You should be able to do a vignette on pretty much any program that you use. And I use them pretty much all the time. You don't have to, but in Sims stuff in particular, I don't necessarily use them all the time in real life photography, but in Sims photography, I tend to be a little bit more liberal with how artistic I want to go with things. So the one thing with this, actually, before I take it down, the one thing with this is when you're using a vignette, hopefully your program allows you to move the center point around, because ideally, if you can move the center point around, it really does make a pretty big difference. So here I can move the center point around, and I want to show you, it kind of grayed her up a little bit. Like, look at her skin. If you see the difference with her skin, it kind of goes a little bit gray. So I don't want her skin to be gray. Now I can do one of two things. I can either paint this mask manually with the brush and kind of just go over, hopefully with a black brush on that. And you can see I've got the black coming in. Oh, I have very little opacity. That's why it's not doing too much there. I thought I should see more visual there. So you can see I'm taking away the gray. I don't know if you guys can see it, but like I'm taking the gray away from her neck. So I can paint that manually, but I have a trick. I have a trick that if you are a Photoshop user and you don't know this trick, I know I said I wasn't going to teach Photoshop, but this trick, anyone that does not know this, that uses Photoshop will likely love me. So, okay, so I'm going to teach you this one. I'm going to click here under image, apply image, and I'm right on the mask. I'm going to make sure this opacity says 100. I'm on multiply, and I am on invert. Invert targets the light colors. So if you look at the image, I'm going to undo the preview and redo the preview. Look at the lights. Look how much brighter they get. So basically, this allows you can see the color if I go in, then obviously this is the way where I manually painted it, but you can see where the dark is coming in. And I'm actually going to apply image one more time to add to that, to make it even darker. So there we go. And so that means that the light comes up even more in our image. So it's really darkening this area. It's darkening a little bit around here, but the dark is not as strong around her. It specifically takes that away. So, and if I want, I can continue manually doing her face and stuff like that. But I think that she's pretty good, except for one thing. I feel like her hair's gotten a little bit too dark. So I'm going to paint over her hair. And by the way, in case you are a Photoshop user and you want to know how I'm switching back and forth to the mask, it's just Alt and click with the mouse. And you can switch back and forth with the mask. But yeah, I'm going to color her hair in here real quick, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like her hair's gotten a little bit too dark, and it's not really necessary for it to be that dark. So just coloring her hair in. There we go. All right. So that leaves a little bit of the highlights in her hair a little bit more than what was there before. And I like that a little bit better. Now, a couple of other things that I'm going to show you how to do real quick. And just to give you ideas for stuff, I'd like her eyes to be a little bit more blue. So I'm going to add in a blue photo filter. So I'm going to throw in this cooling filter here, and you can see when I click it, the whole image gets cast with this really cool blue light, but I only want it on her eyes. So I'm just going to mask out the back real quick, and you can see I made that all black. Boom, that's all black. And now I'm just going to take my white. And by the way, if you're a Photoshop user, I'm just clicking X to go back and forth between the colors. And I'm just going to take the white, if I'm on the right thing, and I'm just going to paint her eyes, and look how much bluer they get. Boom. Boom. So I got made her eyes nice and blue there. I would like her shirt and her lips to be a little bit more magenta too. And I can do the same thing again, or I can do a selective color. In this case, it might maybe be, let's try the selective color first. Selective color, magenta, let's see. Oh, I saw her lips getting a whole lot darker there. A little bit of color on her skin. And a little bit in the shirt. This might give us most of what I'm looking for. It gives me a little bit of extra pink on her collarbone up here, but I'm just going to take some black and get rid of that because it's a little bit too much extra pink. So I'm just going to make sure that it's not hitting there, but it's hitting the shirt. It's hitting her lips, gives us a little bit extra there, which is good. I feel like her skin is still a little too white or still a little too yellow. The background is good, but her skin's a little too yellow still. So I think I'm going to, let's see, how do I want to, I think I'll do a selective color and then just target her face and kind of let the back go maybe. Or actually, now that I take it down, I might like the back more like that as well. I think it's better if she loses some of it out of her face because she almost looks a little jaundiced and we don't want her looking jaundiced. So take a little bit out of her face. I'm undecided on the back though. I think the back might actually be better without it as well. So let's look where we started. This is where we started. This is where we're at now. I'd like a little bit more shadow in, so I'm going to try adding some contrast and see if I can get a little bit more. I got a little bit. It hit her hair harder than I want it to. I'm going to take it out of the hair. I'm just going to black out the hair because I still want her to have some highlights up there. So I'm just going to take that little piece out of the hair. And I think I'm going to add another levels. I'm going to try, and a lot of this is kind of trial and error. Yeah, I think I kind of want the image doing that a little bit more. It's strong on her face, but I don't know. I feel like I'm going a little heavy-handed with it, but at the same time, I kind of like the rich look a lot. All right, I'll leave that and then I'll take the opacity down to compensate for my heavy-handedness. Okay, there's no opacity. There's full opacity. Yeah, somewhere in between is the right level. And see, again, this is all subjective as to what you like. I think right about there is good for me. Okay, so this is where we started. This is where we're at now. So you can see that she pops a lot more than she did. And do I want another gradient? Let me copy this layer. I might even like that. It makes her pop even more. But it really colors this side a lot. Maybe I'll mask it out. Let me try it with a mask just over this side. Too much mask. All right, let's try opacity of 28. It's like that didn't go. There we go. Add a little bit more. Yeah, I might like that even more. It highlights her even more. So you can see a lot of this is kind of tweaking, and it's very subjective as to what you think works best for the sim. I feel like she could use a little bit more of some other color. Maybe try a red photo filter. That might be a little too much. Take it down a little bit. Maybe a 10 on that. Yeah, that adds in, it's offsetting the yellow a little bit. I kind of like that. So the whole thing now is pretty strong. If I want to take down the entire thing, because it is pretty strong, I can lower the saturation a little bit and it'll give it a little bit of a gritty feel, which is kind of nice as well. I'm not quite sure which way I like it better. A little bit less saturation gives it kind of a gritty feel. Oh, it's hard to tell, isn't it? It's hard to decide. I don't know. I might like it more saturated. So you guys let me know. I mean, you guys can let me know down in the comments what your preference is. And if you like the update in general, but this is what we're looking at before and after. And this just gives you an idea of different techniques that you can use. Things like your vignettes, finding the white balance, playing around with your levels, different color enhancements and things like that, targeted color enhancements. And if you have any one of the applications where you've got a lot of or layer and mask capability, you can do all of this stuff. So just to give you all some ideas, and I intend to do more photography sort of related videos. So if you guys have any requests, I'm kind of like trying to decide what to do with photography related videos, but I'm thinking I can take some of the stuff that I've taught in photography classes before and teach it with The Sims. And so give me any requests down in the comments. If you liked this, if you found it interesting or helpful at all, do let me know. And thank you all so much for spending the time with me today. Hope to see you all back again next time. Bye now.